Hi everyone and welcome to today's ZestChat, our short recorded interviews. And today I am chatting with Paul Whitnell, who is the president of the British Irish Trading Alliance, otherwise known as BITA. Now, Paul has been on a health challenge since the beginning of January, and I wanted to share his inspiring story as he's had some fabulous results. So Paul, before we get into talking about your health journey, tell us about what BITA is all about and what prompted you to start it up.
I suppose BITA in essence is all about people. We are the people who know people that help people. And I started it up because when I moved here 10 years ago now, which has gone like that, when I moved here 10 years ago, I realized very quickly that there was a cultural difference of doing business in Ireland and the UK. And there was things like gatekeepers and timekeeping and all of these things that I was very unaware of. And they were absolutely killing me when I came over here, because adapting to a new market like this without those tools was the wrong thing to do. So I spent 6 months basically doing the wrong things, turning the wrong way, and then always being told by people that, oh, if only you met this, or if only you'd done it this way, or if only, and I was like, oh God, So I said, we need to create a go-to platform so that people behind me who are going through the same journey can actually avoid what I've gone through. So I set up BITA, which is the British and Irish Trading Alliance. And we went to our first meeting and someone said to me, what is BITA? And I said, it's people who know people that help people. But it's a lot more than that. So it's a network organization, it's a non-for-profit organization. But what we do is we get to know one another in terms of the pathway of companies, what makes them, the build-up of the company, the makeup of the company, what their pathway is. And we then go back into the ecosystem and we facilitate an opportunity for our members. So every company is busy growing, but some aspects of that growth become problem areas. And what BITA does is it finds a solution within the ecosystem to those problem areas. So it's a lot more, than a network. It's a network with a lot of purpose. And when you do join and you're a member and you've now experienced it yourself firsthand, it's getting on that journey and all the support and all the assistance that's around you to actually get you where you want to go. And that's finding the value, finding the opportunity. And that's what we're very good at now. So 10 years on, we have 8 chapters in the UK, 3 in Ireland. We're connected to 23 states of America. We're connected to Dubai, Australia, Israel, Poland, Germany. So BITA has gone global. Why? Because of the values of the organization, because what we do is good. What we do is actually the right thing in terms of our values. It's generosity of spirit, it's caring, it's sharing, and it's imparting knowledge for one another, So we are creating a dynamic that I suppose got broken down in our generation in terms of communication. So we were always reared with good values, but they started to diminish because technology got in the way, commercialism, greed got in the way, and suddenly we started to losing our values. We would step over litter, and it was acceptable to do that, So it drove me crazy, and I actually said we need to reassess those values, and that's what BITA has done. And now we have a fantastic, dynamic organization of over 450 members who live by those values.
Absolutely. And I love being a part of it. I've been a part of it since the beginning of November. And of course, the Zest Wellbeing Hub is a part of the BITA membership. So in January, you started the BITA Bootcamp, and which I've actually been a part of as well. So tell us what inspired you to start it and what it's all about.
Well, I suppose there was a kid asked me in a school just before Christmas, if I had my time back, what would I change? And I said, the answer to the question was, I would be brave quicker in my life. I would take on things and take risks, and I would be brave. And I'm 53 years of age now. I was coming up to after Christmas, and I think it was the the breaking point for me was when we came to New Year's Eve and we realized that we couldn't celebrate the New Year like we celebrated other New Years. And then the daunting task of going into a dark and dreary January, knowing that the pandemic was escalating and that the prospect of creating the synergies that BITA does in an external sense, i.e. events, was going to be probably missing for the first half, maybe 3/4 of the year.
Yeah, I know.
And that was a real dark moment. And I decided that I would need to work on my mental health in terms of overcoming this. So I was, like anybody else, got very used to drinking that bottle of red wine every night and got very, very fond of that. Not that I'm saying that I'm an alcoholic, maybe I'm functioning alcoholic, but no, in jokes, I mean, I don't joke about the serious side of that, but in the seriousness of that conversation, it could have taken hold of me. And that was quite a frightening thing. So I decided, right, let's use January 1 as the reset button in lots of ways. So I put together some people who could support me, because that's what BITA is all about. And what I did was I got a nutritionist, I got someone who was a coach in exercising, and I got another few people around me to create the support that we could actually do a boot camp together and build up this ambitious program for 6 weeks. One of which was a very important integral part of this was the commitment for me to pack in drinking for that period of time, which wasn't an easy thing to do, you know. We started the boot camp and we started with our why. We started goal setting. So it was a lot more than just kind of a diet or giving up drink. It was about the mind. It was about what do we do to give ourselves the tools to be able to successfully navigate through a very challenging time. The end result is that I started the boot camp with a weight of 15.12, and I finished the boot camp today 13.8, which is quite
brilliant.
Yeah. So, and then the elements were like, you know, we talked about sleep, we talked about breathing methods, we talked about juicing. For instance, I wouldn't eat a vegetable when I was a kid. Still don't. I
really?
eat sprouts. Yeah, not one vegetable do I eat. Brussels sprouts is it, and it's a strange. I don't drink coffee. Never did. So there was certain thing in me that I just didn't do. So Sandy Donnelly introduced me to juicing, where I could get all the nutritions of all those vegetables in a juice and knock it back. And that went straight into the system, and my God, did it have an impact. So
it's like a drug.
it is. And I mean, so I learned, we went on a detoxing weekend. I learned about proper detoxing. I learned about meditation. I learned about yoga. I learned what a HIIT was. So the HIIT and we do the HIITs now on a Wednesday, and that's the high intensity training, which is
brilliant, isn't it?
Is unbelievable. But I learned the importance of fluids and water. I learned about my pee and the color of my pee. We talked about many things that you wouldn't really go in that depth. And when you put them all together, that's when it really made sense. So the importance of box breathing that aids the sleeping. And I can honestly tell you now that I'm sleeping better. Something you said in your session about sleeping was investing in proper bedding, because apparently, and something I didn't know, we sleep for 30 years of our life, So if you're going to be sleeping for 30 years of your life, why don't you get the best bedding that's around and best
exactly.
pillows, So they were things that I didn't necessarily look at, but I do now look at, because someone put them together along this journey. And it all started from creating the why. Why are we doing this? And then how do we do this? And how do we put it together? Setting our goals, understanding what momentum is, because momentum is very important in terms of we can get things going, but it's the momentum keeps them going. and the momentum will now allow me, even though I finished the bootcamp today, to consider some of the things, not all of the things, and continue them and keep that momentum going. So understanding all of these elements were absolutely fascinating.
So you've now got a health toolkit.
Yeah, whether I use it to its full extent, or not, remains to be seen. But for me, I've seen the benefits of, for instance, when I'm talking on camera now, instead of having 4 chins, I only have 2 probably now, and I've seen the benefits from my skin. I've seen the benefits of me feeling better, my confidence levels. I remember, and there's a video that's available on YouTube, but it's my first run where John Ford brought me out, and we went to Moat Park, and I ran for a mile. And he didn't capture it on video, but I threw up after that, and I was in a bad way. And the aches and pains in my body when we started, from the first week, I couldn't move. I was in so much pain, and you've got to get over this to actually continue, because that's what happens. As soon as we, hit that wall, we tend to stop and go, oh, I'm not doing this again. And then it gets worse and worse and worse, and laziness comes in, and, and excuses. It's like, we make excuses for why we don't do things. I have a banter with my wife and saying, like, she's always talked about couch to 5K. And so far she's done couch to couch. Now, because of the bootcamp, and she's seen what it did for me, she's now in the middle of her couch to 5K, and she's doing it, so you need something to spur you on, and you need to set these goals and understand the why, which is very, very important as well.
That's right. And you always go back to your why if you sort of drift off track.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get away from it. Is very, very challenging times for everybody at the moment. So things like the stress levels that we have, we don't realize that they're growing all the time, and they can go out of control. So we need to kind of force ourselves into certain routines that can actually, calm that down. And the importance of, meditation, and the importance, but understanding why, again, why do we meditate? Why is it important? And these can only be minutes of your day. It can take seconds and minutes to do these exercises, but the difference that they can make is absolutely amazing.
And one of the other things that was covered in the boot camp was talking about the things that we can control and influence, and all the things that are beyond our control, we just have to let them go.
Yes, I mean, we can get wrapped up in lots of things, but again, it's realizing what's around you, and what you can do, what you can control. You're very right. But we've got to kind of like center ourselves in terms of making time for these. You can make time for anything in your life.
Okay.
And one thing that COVID has done for lots of people is it is pressed a social reset button, but it's also pressed a personal reset button in a lot of people. And we do know, I mean, I loved one fact was where people went out and they celebrated the NHS in style like they should. And it was that notion of taking these people into consideration, because these people are the champions of this pandemic at the moment, and the heroes. So it's making people aware of these things. But, the stress levels that we have today are far, far greater. The worry that we have in terms of, but at the end of the day, when you do press that reset button, we really don't need an awful lot, in our lives. We became a throwaway society, and materialism took over. And when you actually peel it back, and, the non-activity of restaurants and pubs, the spend that people have is largely, probably, they've got more money in their pocket now than they ever did before, because they're not spending on needless things. And even the whole communication piece of, we'd say, how we communicate. I used to be running on planes, trains, and automobiles on a daily basis, covering ferocious miles. And suddenly now I'm able to do things differently with the same outcome, and sometimes better outcomes. Yeah. Now, I am not detracting from the fact that I cannot wait to be back on a plane, train, or automobile and be out to events again, because I believe that's the way. But I think we will change our ways. There'll be a hybrid version of a bit of both when we come out of this, and that's why BITA as an organization is so relevant now, because we do need each other. We do need to lean on each other. And when you have a structured collective of people that do that, well, then it makes it so much easier.
So, and also the BITA Bootcamp was a great community as well, wasn't it? And you had Michael Crease, who's I have to get this right, a British touring racing car driver.
Correct. Yeah. So we had Michael Crease, and we had at the start we had Jade Edwards, and with the whole team from BTC Racing involved. But Michael in particular is a great bit of story, and Michael joined us because he needs to get fit for the season. And he said, what a great idea, can I join you? And I said, well, what a great personality to have involved. But you're right, it was the community that we built up. All of these people gathered at 8:30 or 8 o'clock on a Monday, Wednesday and Thursday for half an hour. And it was a different subject matters we spoke about, and the camaraderie that was in between. And when we went to the first hits, which was probably mid-term of the boot camp, two of the people commented and they said, if you had asked me at the start of the boot camp to participate in this, I would have said, no way. What you did was you actually, by way of including us, you brought us on board and you emotionally involved us in what your journey was. And for that reason, we were supporting you. We were happy to participate. And midway through the boot camp, we had everybody in tracksuits and we had everybody doing the hits on a Wednesday. And believe me, it was tough going, but it was so funny and so brilliant to see their support and push me along as well.
I sadly had to miss that session because I had some early webinars, but I will look forward to.
I think that was a bit of a cop out there now, if you had.
I'm just let off games. No, I enjoyed the other one that we did. So, so you've lost 1.5 stone, which is, I calculated, 21 pounds in 6 weeks.
Yeah, and I mean this is done by simple things of. First of all, I cut out the cup of tea in the morning because the cup of tea was accompanied by either a slice of toast or biscuits.
Right.
So I cut out the cup of tea and I went to the lemon and water. And so that was the first kind of major change. I cut out alcohol totally for the 6 weeks. That was it. Didn't even, have a glass of wine when the rugby was on, for instance.
I know.
So it was a total sabbatical in terms of that. And it's great to kind of, I'd say my liver now is celebrating at the moment. So, and then I watched things like processed foods. I cut out processed foods. So they were the 3 major changes that I made. Now, in terms of diet, I went on no major diets. I still had my fry. I'm an Irishman who loves his fry.
The Irish breakfast.
Still had my fry, yeah, absolutely. And I still had the biscuit and the cup of tea, which probably I shouldn't be doing. And I continued that. But the net result was the culmination of exercise, doing the morning exercise in particular, which was the all the press ups and the work on the ball and the hits. That was the elements. I did a small bit of juicing to introduce the nutrients, and that's the net result. And the net gain for me was a great mind and a reduction of 21 pounds, which I am absolutely blown away by.
Yay. But it's amazing, isn't it? It's just small tweaks make a big difference, and you don't have to go on restrictive diets at all, do you? It's just
I mean, I was quite worried towards the end because it snowed very badly for the last week. So normally I was doing probably 2 miles a day in walking as well, which was just getting out and good for my head as well. But I got into that and I got used to that and was great. And then suddenly the snow came and that stopped. So I had a whole week this week with absolutely zero exercise from an external point of view, only doing my hits and my bit of exercise early in the morning. And so I was quite worried about the weigh-in today. But thankfully, I was shocked when I jumped on the scales and I was 13.8. My God, it's taken me back probably 15 years since I was that big.
Fantastic. It was great, actually, because we were all there live watching you stand on the scales and see the result come up.
And that's what's very daunting about it, because, you know, even when you stepped on the scales at the start of the whole process, it was kind of embarrassing because I felt like a bit of like a buddy belly. And, you know, but then when that support kicks in and when you have all these people around you, I'm looking at actually the week by week. So I started at 15.12. The following week I went down to 14.10.6. Then I went to 14.84. The following week I went up to 14.9, and I was devastated. I was gutted, and I couldn't understand it. And it was explained to me that that was the buildup of muscle.
Yes.
So that was where the muscle was kicking in instead of fat, and muscle can often weigh heavier. So that explained why we went up. I went from 14.9 to 14.8, which was quite disappointing. And then I went from 14 down to 14.3, and then from 14.3 to 13.8, which was, I mean, if you look at it, the last portion there was the biggest drop. And that's because the muscle has now, you know, is eating into the fats. So it is, it's amazing how that transition carried itself out. And as I said, it's not like I was dieting or doing anything like that. It was just simple: processed foods, giving up the cup of tea and the biscuits to a certain extent, but increasing my exercise regime in a small way. And that was it. That was it, you know. So that's 21 pounds. Wow, it's amazing. When I say that, I'm there going, whoa, my God, you know. Ironically, the first thing I wanted to do when I actually came off the scales this morning was open a bottle of wine.
Celebrate. Hope you didn't. No wine.
No,
for breakfast.
I didn't. No.
I do believe in treats, so you should have a nice treat meal this evening.
Well, I said to my wife on Valentine's Day, which is Sunday, I'm buying a bottle of Chateauneuf de Pape, but I didn't tell her that the bottle that I found is in Marks and Spencer's, and it's a litre bottle. So that's what we're going to have on Sunday.
Well, enjoy that. So I'm going to really miss the BITA Bootcamp, because we've kind of got into this pattern of Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays. So you're going to continue on your health journey. So we're checking in on you. And I'd love to do another interview with you in the future about your BITA litter pickers. I have to keep rehearsing that. So we're going to touch base in the next few months. But if people want to find out more information about BITA, how do they go about it?
Well, they can just log on to the website. It's quite a substantial website. It's www.bita.ie, and they can find out more about the. In the website, it's wonderful. There's some great sections about procurement hub, training hub, resources section, which you're obviously part of as well.
Yeah.
And we encourage. We're not a member gatherer, so we encourage people to inquire into the organization, be part of the organization, and participate at no cost to yourselves for as long as you want. And then when you feel that you can participate and be part of the community, well, then that's when to join. So we're not a member gatherer. We want people to be part of the organization and find their place in it, rather than just having people members for the sake of being members. That's not what we are at all.
No. And it's a fantastic organisation, and I really am enjoying my BITA journey. And I'm really looking forward to the day when I can meet everyone in person.
Oh yeah, I can't. I mean, I look back on it now, and some of the events, we have photographs and testimonies to those. But I just miss them so much. I can't wait to be standing in front of a microphone in the Royal Horse Guard greeting people. I think I may cry. Because I'm an emotional wreck, and I think it's going to be very hard, but it's going to be some celebration when we can actually announce to the world that we're back to doing what we do best, and then filing into the pub after and getting Willie Moon back on that guitar and singing our brains out. Wow, I can't wait for that moment.
Well, Paul, thank you so much for your time today. And I'll look forward to meeting you in person in a few months.
Great. And can I say that you are a fantastic part of the BITA community. I mean, Wake Up to Zest is a wonderful, wonderful creation and a wonderful concept. It fits in so well with what we do. And our members are really enjoying the whole journey now. But, you know, the education pieces, and you know this better than I, that it takes time to educate people in terms of what value is around them. So my message to everybody is take a leaf out of my book, see how easy it was to make those changes in your life, but press the reset button and take a look around you, because there's so much around you that you can get value from.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Cheers. Thank you very much.